Hi, I'm Haley, and I'll be talking to you today about this book, The Christian Atheist. I just read this book, and it was a good book. It is by Craig Groeschel, and he is a pastor of a church, and he wrote this book. That's Craig Groeschel. So he starts the book by talking about how he was once a party boy, fraternity guy, and he was kind of a Christian growing up, but he kind of decided not to be, and then he got saved. But after he got saved, he was still doing the same things that he was before. So he brings up the point of why are there so many Christians in the world that live like they're atheists. Their Christianity does not carry over into any aspects of their life, but they're like, I love God, amazing, and except for not, because it doesn't change anything. So yeah, he tells about a couple of different stories. One is of a girl he met on the plane, whom she found out he was a pastor, and so she was like, oh yeah, I'm a Christian too, yay, we both love God. And he's like, oh yeah, what do you do, what's your life like? And she's like, well, I live in my boyfriend's house, and I have all these problems, I don't go to church. And so he started thinking about this concept of the Christian atheist. So, in chapter 1, he talks about when you believe in God, but you don't really know Him. So that's pretty much what I just went into. You believe in God, but you're like, I'm going to pray sometimes, maybe, and then I'm going to go party it up, live life, make money, pay rent. And then he goes into when you believe in God, but you're ashamed of your past, which is something that's totally understandable. If you're ashamed of your past, and a lot of people don't want to go into a church community where they feel like there's a bunch of people who are better than them or more holy, and a lot of churches just don't do a good job at facilitating an open environment, and that's kind of what he talks about, how you don't have to be ashamed of your past because we're all saved by grace. And and chapter 3, when you believe in God but you're not sure that He loves you. And this is something that I've been thinking about a lot recently. We can say, I love God, but do we actually believe that He loves us? Because that's the root of everything. Chapter 4, when you believe in God but not in prayer. This is pretty crucial. Many Christians, I would say, believe in prayer, but they'll just say, I'll pray for you, or I was praying about this or that, but were they really praying? Did you hear God? Do you have a quiet time? A lot of times for me, I would have to say having a quiet time is difficult, and that having that prayer relationship with God is also difficult, but it's the most essential thing that we can do. This is also something that he talks about and goes into depth with, that when you really believe in prayer and you believe in that conversation with God and you practice it and you're active with it, then it transforms your life and stuff just doesn't look the same. So, and then when you believe in God but you don't think He's fair, yeah, pretty self-explanatory. When something tragic happens to a family, your aunt gets cancer and dies, and she's a super godly woman, like, how do you explain that? But he basically says that, we can only view God in human terms. So if he was a human and that allowed that to happen, that would make sense, but we have to look at Him as God, and He knows all, and He, it sucks to say, that was for the best, or that was in God's plan, but so when you believe in God and you won't forgive is something he also talks about. I know this is super difficult. We just love that Jesus forgives us. Yay! Party for Jesus forgiving me, but I don't really want to forgive the, child molester or the rapist. And he talks about how in his past he had a situation where his sister was molested by a family friend, and he couldn't find it in himself to forgive the guy for a long time, which is totally understandable. I mean, that guy deserves to basically burn and rot for what he did, but so do all of us. We are all sinners, and in releasing those people to God, we find freedom and allow God to work in them. So, when you believe in God, but you don't think you can change, this was a pretty crucial chapter for me, I think, because although we can see change in others and we can see change happen around us and see that God can transform certain aspects of our life, sometimes when we have like addictive behaviors or something that's just stuck that you don't think can change, it's just another way that you're not letting God into your life. You're not stepping out in that way to say, yes, God, you can change me here. So I've seen many people walk away from the church because of that, because they're like, well, I'm still addicted to drugs or alcohol or sex or whatever, and God hasn't transformed that part of my life yet. It's like, well, you have to invest in that. And that's what he talks about there. That you have to try hard. And when you believe in God but still worry all the time is his next point. And yeah, basically don't worry. He says, well, and by he I mean Jesus, says, can you by worrying add but 1 hour to your life? The answer is no, you can't. Because you're a human, you don't need to worry. Do your stuff. Don't worry about it. It's a sin to worry. So basically summarizes that chapter. When you believe in God but pursue happiness at any cost. This was also very crucial. He said God doesn't necessarily want to make you happy. God is just and loves you and wants the best for you, but that's not always going to be to pursue every worldly pleasure and everything that you want in your life, because your desires are evil. You're a human, See? So, yeah, that was good. God doesn't always want to make us happy, but he always wants the best for us. And then I'm just going to jump to when you believe in God but not his church. And he just basically outlines the benefits of being in a church community and what the true church should look like, coming from a servant point of view instead of, an agenda. We always know those churches with the agendas. They need that money. They need that Skrilla, At the end of the day, they have to build a new wing in the worship house, So, anyway, so he talks about that versus true servants and going out into the world, being in the world, and just exemplifying who Jesus is. So, yeah, that basically wraps up the book. Again, it is called The Christian Atheist. It's a good read. I would recommend it. It's a simple read. I will give this to my friends. I will give this to my family. I'll say, hey, family, you should read this. They're going to read it. They're going to like it. It's called The Christian Atheist by Craig Groeschel.